Good morning and everyone. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging that Indigenous peoples are the traditional guardians of this land that we call Canada, and that this land is unceded, and we all have a duty to acknowledge that relationship to the land upon which we live and work and learn. The keepers of traditional Indigenous knowledges in every community are worthy of honor, consideration, and respect. There are courageous Indigenous leaders, youth, and elders that deserve the ongoing support of all Canadians to create equal opportunities for everyone of this land, and that reconciliation will be a success when all Canadians have committed to learning about our shared past, listening to Indigenous truths, and pursuing a new and more inclusive, collaborative, and respectful path forward towards a better future. Here in Toronto, we acknowledge the land that we are meeting on is on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is part of Treaty 13 territory. My name is Brett Hodis, and I will be introducing the sessions ahead today. And I'd like to welcome everyone to Tech Nation's FutureWave, Day 1. Being here with you all for today's discussion is truly an honor and a privilege to me, and I'll explain why in a moment. For those of you who have not gotten to know, have not had an opportunity to get to know us at Tech Nation yet, we are an outstanding organization and team of people with the vision of Canada being a truly world-class leading digital society, and one that continues to deliver prosperity and competitiveness for the country in a global market. We are the industry government nexus for technology prosperity in Canada. A member-driven, not-for-profit, Tech Nation is uniting Canada's technology sector, governments, and communities to enable technology prosperity from coast to coast. Tech Nation champions technology prosperity by providing advocacy, professional development, and networking opportunities across industry and governments at all levels, connecting Canadian scale-ups with global tech leaders, engaging the global supply chain, and filling the technology talent pipeline, something we'll certainly be discussing today. Tech Nation has served as an authoritative national voice of the $210 billion information and communication technologies industry over the last 60 years. And as the trusted and authoritative voice of that industry, Tech Nation's mission is to promote and enhance the significant contribution that digital technology can make to Canada's economic prosperity. Tech Nation and its members do what we do every single day to move the needle closer to the successful achievement of this mission. In my capacity as Senior Program Manager over the last 2 years with Tech Nation, I have seen firsthand the marvelous impact that our future workforce development programming has had across a multitude of stakeholders, from students to budding startups to inspiring scale-ups. We are only able to do this to the degree in which we do because we are enabled with funding from the Government of Canada, who has helped us to bring you this event today. And so I give our thanks and gratitude to the Government of Canada. We certainly do not take any of this funding we receive for granted, and we work hard for it. We recognize initiatives under Employment and Social Development in Canada as being a reflection of Canadian values and priorities. And that is why I say ensuring the successful delivery of our Career Ready program is an honor, and it is a privilege, because I feel every day that I am serving you, our industry, our community, our future, which is one dedicated to both prosperity and equity. Over the last year, at a time when Canadian small to medium businesses needed it most, TechNation has been able to provide over $50 million in wage subsidies as part of its student work placement program, the Career Ready program, to employers who place their savings and trust in abilities of students from all across Canada. These work integrated learning opportunities for thousands of our career ready students have provided students an opportunity to gain real world work experience in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, business, and other interdisciplinary roles. These experiences further support their application of academic theory, providing a plethora of transferable skills. Work integrated learning also tackles real world issues and empowers students by valuing their input and efforts to create tangible impacts within our industries. Students are making significant contributions to the lines of code that make your thermostat smart, to the production of personal protective equipment, keeping you safe throughout the pandemic. And they protect us from cyber threats and even help entrepreneurs put the E into their e-commerce. And yes, those are all real outstanding examples that we've seen come out of the Career Ready program over the last year. And we continue to celebrate National Cooperative Education and Work Integrated Learning Month. And we celebrate those successes of our students as well. When I think about the theme of FutureWave, which is centered around work integrated learning, of course, and about today's theme for our sessions, which is the future of hiring and human resources in the tech space, I'm standing in very familiar ground at a confluence. You see, I am the official poster boy for work integrated learning. You know I looked familiar all along, and now you've connected the dots. And if I were able to sift through boxes and boxes of unclassified files at Library and Archives Canada, I'm sure that I would eventually find that early 2010s newsletter with the Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada letterhead, boasting its latest student hire through the Federal Student Work Experience Program, or FSWEP. I worked in their human resources offices, first as a bilingual agent and administrator, and they could tell that I had an appetite for learning and development, and so they would give me and carve off more opportunities. And I found myself deep in conversations at the water cooler about the inner workings of the office politics. Eventually, I found myself project coordinating the local development and design of a national multi-year service consolidation project. That's just a fancy way of saying I helped shut down the office as we moved to the Phoenix pay system, which is a story for another day. I couldn't believe at the time the level of responsibilities that I was trusted to carry. And not because I wasn't capable. I knew that I was capable, but I realized that my capability wouldn't normally be accepted outside of the FSWEP program. I was young and green. What I was doing there, pardon me, what I was doing there and what I was allowed to be part of was something more, and it was something special. And although I couldn't articulate what exactly WIL or work integrated learning was, even myself at the time, the model set me up on a path to a bright future career. And so I find it poetic and sort of full circle that I'm now involved with work integrated learning programming and future workforce development. There were several success factors in my own personal experience with WIL, and I want to share 3 important factors with you today. Number 1, from the beginning, there was a high amount of trust established between me and my supervisors. And this enabled us to have those deep, robust conversations at the water cooler about what was really going on. They were genuinely interested in and would ask frequently what my thoughts and observations were. And if I made any mistakes, I had no reason to be shy or hide them. I was conditioned to accountability and openness. Number 2, my supervisor and team leads would regularly set up check-ins with me and provide as much mentorship as possible, while still allowing me to take the ball and run with it. And they knew to do this because they took the time to get to know what motivated me, to understand my goals, needs, values, and strengths. I was conditioned to feel valued myself. And number three, my leadership team and colleagues were frank and willing to reveal the work environment and all of the warts and politics and intricacies that came with it. And they did that with honesty and bravery, I think. I was conditioned to feel like one of them and that I belonged, and I wasn't an outsider because I was younger. And that's what made the world a difference to me. It wasn't just any gig, it was the real deal, and it certainly felt that way. And it was extremely meaningful, and I carry all of those lessons and values and transferable skills with me every single day as a professional and as a leader and as a person. And many of the success stories that we hear regarding WIL and work integrated learning are short-term, during or just after the work placement. And I hope that by sharing my story today, a decade later, that your organization will also take into account the long-term value of adopting a strategic workforce policy that does involve working with students regularly, and that it inspires you to be vulnerable and no BS with them, as my leaders were with me, to ensure and invest in their feeling of belonging. Even though student placements may sometimes only be about 4 months, take that time to mentor, to understand their goals, their values, needs, and strengths. So I think that's my HR leadership challenge to anyone looking to get the most value and see the most potential come out of their students from a WIL experience. And that is to be bold, be real, and to not be afraid to get into that nitty-gritty sometimes. To discuss the future of work, hiring, and human resources completely, we have to have discussions which are centered on diversity, equity, and inclusion. With the murder of George Floyd last year and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, HR as a discipline entirely needed to have a look at itself, do some listening, some reflecting, and work to expand extensive measures to combat racism, and more, to become actively anti-racist. And while the tech sector can and has invented new ways of using technology to ensure the workforce is more inclusive, and we'll hear a little bit more about that later in our sessions, the sector itself still has a lot of learning and even unlearning to do with regards to the way that it often uses a one-size-fits-all skills development model, which is something we'll, again, touch on in many of our sessions this week and next. And I do encourage you to return to our sessions next week as well. And it will also be the focal point of our first session today. Fundamental to addressing the talent gap in Canada's tech sector is making sure that everybody has not just an equal, but an equitable pathway to participate. I'm proud to be part of this community, which is one that is committed to being on the road to better, and to work for an organization like TechNation, which walks this road too, and by embedding its values and actions, which are inclusive, equitable, and diverse, into the heart of all of the programming it offers. And with that, I'd like to present today's sessions and speaker lineup. And can I just say, wow, you're really in for an exciting afternoon with us. We've got quite a lineup for you, and you'll see why in a moment. All sessions will take place today right here in the Hop-In portal. You'll soon leave this main stage room into the first session. Each session will take place over about 45 minutes, and then to join the next one, you'll simply click and move into the next session. It's almost like moving around from room to room if you're at a real conference. So the first session today begins at 1:30 Eastern Time for 45 minutes, centered on enabling Indigenous skills development in tech. And joining us on that panel from the First Nations Education Administrators Association is Dr. Paulette Tremblay. From Plato Testing, Denis Carignan. From the Ryerson Diversity Institute, Wendy Sukier. And from Indigenous Works, Kelly J. Lindsay. Our second session will follow at 2:15 to 3 p.m. Eastern. LMI for you and me, that's labor market intelligence. We'll be joined by the Rogers Cybersecure Catalyst, Randy Peirce, the LMIC, Labor Market Information Council, Steve Tobin, from Skyhive, Serge Bukharov, and yours truly. I'll be there to moderate on behalf of TechNation. The third session today, starting at 3 o'clock till 3:45, SME successes and challenges with work-integrated learning, joined by Venture Lab, a fantastic organization, joined by Wei Guo. Prepper is joining us as well, Salar Chagbar. From Kukurela, Nazim Rajimov. From Sage T, David Long. And moderating that panel, joining us from CWIL, is Kara Krazik. Session 4, 3:45 to 4:30 Eastern, Workplace 2031, HR Technologies. We'll be joined by Mark Patterson from Magnet, Anna Klimbovskaya from Diversio, and that panel will be moderated by Tiffany Goodlett from August Leadership. All right, so without any further ado, you may now head into our first session, Enabling Indigenous Skills Development in Tech. And I hope I'm doing this right, but it should just be right about here to your left, and click onto Sessions. And if you find at any point that you need any tech support, or you'd like to learn more about TechNation and perhaps becoming a TechNation member if you're not already, or you'd like to learn more about the Career Ready program, please join us in our expo area also down there, and you'll be able to connect with some fantastic TechNation employees. And so I'll leave you to that, and enjoy the sessions today, everyone.